Before you is the Super Guppy. It looks as if a regular Boeing swallowed another Boeing and could not hide it. But right now, you will see what makes this airplane truly unique. Its entire nose section, the cockpit, the instruments, the seats of the pilots, turns to the side like a giant door, opening access to a cargo compartment into which one could fit an entire house. And right here begins the most dangerous part. Everything that is located in this nose section must physically disconnect upon opening and then perfectly connect back upon closing. Any mistake, and this airplane will not take to the air. And if it does not take off, National Aeronautics and Space Administration begins to have serious problems. The airplane that is currently taxiing along the runway in Mansfield, Ohio, is a machine with the registration N941NA, the fourth Super Guppy. Out of all that were ever built, and the only one that still flies today, it is based at the El Paso airport and takes to the air only when they need to transport something that does not fit into any other airplane on the planet. Today on board is a component of the Orion spacecraft, the capsule that is supposed to return astronauts to the moon as part of the Artemis program. But the problem is that parts of this spacecraft are manufactured all over the country. One center makes the engine, another makes the hull, a third makes the final assembly. And all of this must end up in one point, strictly on time. Some of these components have a diameter of exactly 25 feet. That is wider than a two-lane road. Try to transport such a thing along a highway. You will have to block the routes in every state. Transportation by sea? Too long when the launch is already on the horizon. And now the main moment. Not a single transport airplane in the world can take such a cargo inside. Even the giant Lockheed C-5 Galaxy has a cargo compartment width of about 19 feet. The Boeing C-17 Globemaster III, about 18. Even the legendary Antonov An-225 Maria, the largest airplane in history, had a compartment only 21 feet in width, and it is no more. It was destroyed in February 2022. One specimen, and now not a single one. Therefore, when the task becomes impossible, they call the Guppy. Under the wings, you see four Allison 501-D22C turboprop engines, the exact same ones that stand on every Lockheed C-130 Hercules in the world. On the C-130, they accelerate the airplane to a speed of over 350 miles per hour. Here, they push 170,000 pounds of bloated aluminum to only 250, the same power, but in absolutely different aerodynamics. It looks as if someone bolted engines from a military transporter onto a whale that decided to pretend to be an airplane. It is not fast. The C-130 overtakes it without effort, but speed does not matter here, because if the cargo does not pass into the door, speed will not save you. But if the engines here can be replaced and serviced without special problems, then with the fuselage, everything is completely different. The foundation of this airplane is not a new design. Its skeleton began its life back in 1953 as a Boeing KC-97 Stratotanker. This means that the airplane itself is more than 70 years old, the era of the Korean War. And the reason why it still flies is one person. In 1962, a former Air Force pilot named John Conroy faced a problem that nobody wanted to solve. Huge stages of rockets needed to be transported from the western coast to the eastern. The only way? Barges. Weeks of journey through the Panama Canal. Conroy proposed a solution. Transport everything by air. His idea was ridiculed. One of the officials looked at his blueprints and said that the airplane looked like a pregnant guppy fish. The name stuck. The funding did not. Then Conroy mortgaged his house, bought a decommissioned Boeing 377 Stratocruiser, and built this airplane himself, that very first Guppy. And here is what is important. The airplane that you see now still carries within itself a part of that first machine. The tail section and the rear fuselage of N941NA is the legacy of that very pregnant Guppy, created with money under the mortgage of a house. But right now, the ground crew in Mansfield has no time for history. Their task is to load the space module inside without damaging it. And for this, it is necessary to take off the nose of the airplane. Not open a door, but literally turn the entire front part. The cockpit, the instruments, the seats. Everything turns 110 degrees to the right, like huge gates. Before you opens a cargo compartment with a diameter of 25 feet and a length of 111 feet. Inside, one could drive 2 pickup trucks side by side. Imagine that your office turns 110 degrees every time someone opens the entrance. And now, imagine that this is the cockpit of an airplane, weighing tens of thousands of kilograms. And after closing, everything must work perfectly. And this is only half of the task. In the place of connection of the nose section and the body is located a disconnection system. All control cables, hydraulics, engine controls, everything passes through one point. When the nose opens, all of this physically disconnects. When it closes, it connects back, and the system must restore perfectly every time. A mistake in the tension of a cable, the airplane does not fly. A hydraulic line did not seat, it does not fly. An engine control did not connect, it does not fly. And all of this happens at every loading. Opened, disconnected, loaded, closed, connected, checked, every time. Most mechanics get nervous when they connect one hydraulic line. Here there are dozens of them, and all must work, without redundancy, all or nothing. Now the nose is open, and the most delicate part begins, the loading. The cargo compartment is not pressurized. It is open to the air, but that is not a problem. Space technology is designed for a vacuum. Cold is not frightening to it. The floor inside is equipped with rails with rollers. Underneath them is an electric winch that pulls the platform inside. The Orion component itself is installed on a special platform that evenly distributes the load and protects the structure. But there is a nuance about which the numbers do not speak. Yes, the diameter of the compartment is 25 feet, but the usable width of the floor is only 13. The rest are curved walls, like inside a pipe. That is, the cargo must not simply enter, it must fit into this curvature. Look up, and you understand. You're inside a cylinder. The walls converge, the space narrows. Any mistake, and the cargo touches the fuselage. And this is still the improved version. In 1962, everything was worse. In order to load a cargo, they took off the tail, completely, every time. It was not an engineering solution. It was a desperate, there is no other variant. On the day of the first test, the dispatchers called the firefighters and the police. Nobody believed that it would take off, but it took off, and it flew. A little slower, but stable. The modern Guppy is an evolution of that idea. Faster, more reliable, and without the necessity to take the airplane apart into pieces. As soon as the winch begins to pull the platform inside, further everything depends on the rail system. The people walking next to the cargo, these are National Guard troops from the 179th Airlift Wing, do not control the movement. They observe. They look at the clearances on both sides. They control so that nothing touches the walls. Because inside the situation is far more dangerous than it seems. The platform is almost 25 feet in width, practically flush to the walls of the compartment. And the fuselage itself has a round shape, because of which the space narrows upwards and downwards. That is, the clearances decrease not only on the sides, but also in height. One gust of wind, one shift, and the space module touches the internal skin of the airplane. And this is that very call that nobody wants to make. Houston, we have a problem. We scratched Orion. In 10 minutes, the platform reaches its point. The hydraulic fixators click into place. The center is aligned. The cargo is secured. Now the reverse process begins. The nose section slowly returns to its place. The locks click into place. All systems connect again. The ground crew walks along the perimeter, checking every connection in the disconnection zone. And right here begins the strangest thing. All of this really must fly. This airplane looks as if they designed it in a joke. The fuselage is bloated over the wing, like a balloon ready to burst. but it flies. Yes, the huge upper part creates resistance, but the wings, engines, and steering surfaces are calculated so as to compensate for this. It is as if you bolted a huge container to the roof of a pickup truck. It will still drive, but every crosswind will become a problem. Here, it is the same. The wind is literally caught by the fuselage, like a sail. Pilots come in for a landing at angles that on any other airplane would look like a mistake. The maximum height of flight is about 25,000 feet. For comparison, the Boeing C-17 Globemaster III flies almost twice as high. The load on the wing is like that of a jet airplane, even though before you is a turboprop machine. 4 engines accelerate it to approximately 250 miles per hour at a height of 20,000 feet. Not a record, and it is not needed. This airplane is not about speed. It is about the possibility to deliver what nobody else can deliver. Any turbulence is felt differently when your fuselage is a huge bubble. The pilots here fly not only by the instruments, but also by their feelings. No modern automatics, no system of stabilization, only mechanics, cables, and the hands of the pilot. The front part of the airplane is pressurized. The cargo compartment is not. In the front is comfort. In the back is almost the stratosphere. In the cockpit are instruments from the 50s. Analog dials, arrows, no digital graphics. If this cockpit had a sound, it would be Elvis on vinyl. The crew is 4 people: a pilot, a second pilot, a flight engineer, and a loadmaster. And here's the key moment. A simulator for this airplane does not exist. It is one in the world. To learn to fly on it is possible only by flying on it. A mistake here is not experience. It is the end. Today, the route is from Ohio to Florida, about 880 miles and 3.5 hours of flight. A truck with such a cargo would drive for 4 days, with escorts and the closing of roads. Guppy does this in a morning, but there is one detail. During the time of the flight, it does not have a backup variant. Not a single airfield along the route is calculated for this airplane with such a cargo. There is no second such airplane. If N941NA goes out of order, a logistical crisis begins. Any malfunction, hydraulics, engine, and the unique cargo falls together with the single airplane in the world. And here's what really must hold the engineer's attention. The engines are not a problem. Those exact same Allison T-56, which stand on the Guppy, are used on every Lockheed C-130 Hercules. More than 18,000 of such engines were produced. More than 200 million hours of flight, spare parts. This is simply a call to the supplier. But the fuselage, this bloated aluminum body, which exactly makes the Guppy unique, was built by hand in 1983. For it does not exist a warehouse of spare parts. There is no catalog. If a crack appears, engineers take a sheet of aluminum and manufacture the detail by hand, according to the single blueprints that exist in the world. The engines are standard. Everything else is single in its kind. This is like having a car where the tires can be bought in any store, but if you dented a door, you need a blacksmith. That very first Guppy, which John Conroy built, mortgaging his house, changed everything. They transitioned from 18 days of transportation by sea to 18 hours by air. In the 60s, this cost $16 per mile. During the time of the Apollo program, the Super Guppy transported entire stages of the Saturn V rocket, those very same ones that sent astronauts to the moon. This was the single airplane in the world capable of doing this. Without it, these elements would go by sea for weeks, and the windows of launches would simply close. According to the evaluation, the Guppy did not just help to win the space race, it made it possible on time. But the history could have broken off very early. In September 1965, during the time of tests at a high speed, the upper part of the fuselage collapsed at a height of about 10,000 feet. The airplane was transporting 30,000 pounds of cargo in bags. Upon the collapse, they tore apart, and the cockpit was clouded with dust. The crew practically went blind. The airplane is damaged. Visibility does not exist landmarks do not exist. An escort airplane DC-9 came out alongside and began to dictate the height and the course. The pilots literally led the damaged machine blindly until the landing on the dried-up Lake Rogers. They sat down. After this, the construction was completely reworked, and the Guppy continued to fly, having accumulated more than 3 million miles over the program's Apollo, Gemini, Skylab, and the International Space Station. Sometimes engineering is not about perfect calculation. This is about the ability to survive when something went wrong. When Airbus took its Super Guppies out of exploitation in the year 97, substituting them with the Beluga, one of them was received by agreement with the European Space Agency. And since that time, N941NA fulfills all the tasks for the transportation of oversized cargoes, T-38 fuselages for the Air Force, parts of the V-22 Osprey for the fleet, International Space Station modules. Every time when it is necessary to transport something that does not fit anywhere, they call one and the exact same airplane. The Artemis program, with a cost of $20 billion, depends on a machine built before the birth of the majority of its engineers. And right now, this airplane is located somewhere over the Carolinas, fulfilling that very task, for the sake of which Conroy once risked everything. But the crew thinks not about history. They think about that. Will this old fuselage withstand one more flight? 4 arrows on analog instruments show the stable work of the engines. Ahead is the runway of the Kennedy Space Center. The airplane touches the Earth. The propellers transition into reverse. The machine slows down. The ground crew takes positions at the nose. The locks open. The entire front part again turns to the side. The cockpit, together with the pilots, goes sideways, revealing the cargo. And inside is that very component of Orion, on the exact same place, without damages, delivered exactly on time. After several stages, it will become a part of the ship that will send people back to the moon. And it arrived here on an airplane of the times of the Korean War, because nothing else simply exists. The cargo is unloaded. The nose closes. All systems again are connected and are checked. Already the second time for the day. The airplane stands on the runway, the single one in the world. A cockpit from the 50s, a construction of 70 years of age, and the future of space missions inside it. And when the next component is required, there will be one call, one airplane, and that exact same team, which again will disconnect and connect every cable, trusting a system that works without the right to a mistake since 1983.